Picture this. It's 7:00 a.m.
Oh no. I know exactly where this is going.
Right. You've just woken up. You're reaching blindly for your phone on the nightstand, and
You haven't even had a single sip of coffee yet.
exactly, not one sip. You squint at the screen, and well, there it is. The absolute last thing any mobile app professional ever wants to see.
The dreaded automated email.
Yep, a cold automated email from Google or Apple sitting right at the top of your inbox telling you that your app has been taken down.
It is the ultimate digital jump scare, honestly. Your heart just drops straight into your stomach.
100%.
Because, I mean, in our industry, that kind of email doesn't just mean a technical glitch has happened. It means your revenue is instantly frozen.
It's terrifying.
Right. Your user acquisition pipelines, like all those campaigns you've spent weeks optimizing, they are completely severed. It is a full-blown crisis before breakfast.
It really is. And, if you're listening to this, you're a fellow app industry professional. You are a UA manager scaling a new game, or maybe a product lead trying to push a major update.
Or a growth marketer managing, millions in ad spend.
Exactly. You know exactly the cold sweat I'm talking about. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are talking shop today, specifically focusing on a highly practical, incredibly urgent breakdown from UA Insider, issue number 07.
Oh, that's a great piece.
Yeah, it really is. The original source translates to, from Unpublished to Terminated, the reasons why your app disappears.
Which is such an accurate way to frame it, because they don't just disappear in a vacuum. There's this whole underlying taxonomy of app death.
A taxonomy, right?
Yeah, but the problem is that when developers see a takedown notice, the immediate reaction is just blind panic, regardless of the severity.
Right, and that panic leads to terrible decision-making. So our mission for this deep dive is to decode that taxonomy. We're going to walk through the exact mechanics of the different takedown states.
Step by step.
Step by step. The goal here is simple. You need to understand the underlying rules of this ecosystem inside and out. You've got to know exactly when an app can be saved with a quick fix and when an app is completely irrevocably dead.
Because, honestly, knowing the difference between a minor administrative hiccup and a fatal platform strike, that is what separates a reactive growth team from a truly strategic one.
It's a huge difference.
It is. Because if you panic over a minor warning, you burn operational time. But if you ignore a fatal warning or misunderstand the algorithm's memory of your infractions, you lose your entire business.
Yeah, you lose everything. So let's start by looking at the warning shots, the lightest penalties. We're talking about situations where your app isn't visible to the public, but your developer account itself isn't necessarily in jeopardy.
The lowest tier.
Right. The absolute lightest state here is unpublished. In this scenario, the app simply vanishes from the public storefront. But, and this is a really crucial distinction, it stays right there in your developer console.
And what's genuinely fascinating about the unpublished state is that it isn't always a punishment handed down by the platform.
Wait, really?
Yeah, a lot of the time, a strategic user acquisition or ASO team will intentionally unpublish their own app.
Let's pull on that thread for a second.
Yeah.
Why would a team intentionally kill their own visibility?
Well, imagine you're making a massive pivot in your monetization strategy, or, you need to pull the app down temporarily for extensive live testing.
Oh, so you don't want new users messing up the data.
Exactly. Sometimes you just need it out of the public eye for a moment. It operates as a strategic retreat. You hit unpublish, do your internal work, and publish it again when you're ready.
Okay, that makes sense. But obviously there are times when the platform forces that unpublished state on you, and when they do, it's almost always administrative, right?
Yeah.
It's the automated trawlers doing a compliance check.
Precisely. Google and Apple use automated bots that just constantly crawl your app's listing. They aren't looking deeply at user behavior. They're looking for broken administration.
So like a broken link.
Exactly. They crawl your store page and find that your mandatory privacy policy link goes to a 404 error page. Or they detect that your metadata is improperly formatted.
Let's quickly define metadata for anyone listening who might not deal with the App Store optimization side daily. We're talking about your digital storefront, your app title, your subtitle, your promotional text, your screenshots.
Yep, the whole package.
Right. And if your screenshots suddenly violate a visual guideline like, say, showing real-world violence in a game rated for teenagers, The crawler flags it.
Or perhaps the app simply kept crashing during the platform's routine automated review process.
Oh, the bots literally test the app.
Yeah, they spin up a virtual machine to test the basic functionality. And if your app crashes on the loading screen 3 times in a row, the platform isn't going to ban you for a bug, but they will unpublish you to prevent users from downloading a broken product.
Makes total sense.
And the fix here is brilliantly simple. You just fix the specific broken link or buggy code they pointed out and you hit republish. Zero long-term impact on your account's standing.
So unpublished is like pulling down your storefront sign to repaint it. It's easy enough. It's annoying. You might miss a few walking customers that day, but the store is still yours.
Great analogy.
Thanks. But what happens if the building inspector refuses to let you open your doors in the first place? That brings us to the second warning shot, which is rejected.
The brick wall.
Right. This happens before an app, or even an app update, manages to go live.
And Apple is famously strict when it comes to the rejected phase. I mean, we all know the urban legends of the App Store review process, holding up an essential update for weeks.
Oh, the horror stories are endless.
Right. But Google Play employs these pre-launch gatekeepers just as rigorously now.
And the triggers for getting rejected usually center around the fundamental value or like the transparency of the app. One of the most common reasons is that the app is simply too basic.
Oh, the junk apps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The platforms explicitly classify these as junk apps. Prime example is a simple WebView app.
Right. And a WebView app is essentially just taking a standard mobile website and lazily wrapping it in an app container so you can throw it on the store.
Just bypassing actual development.
Completely. And the platforms hate this. Why? Because it offers absolutely zero native mobile value to the user. It doesn't use device features. It doesn't run smoothly. It's just a browser window pretending to be an application. They will reject that outright.
Then there is the metadata mismatch. This is a huge one for UA teams trying to optimize their click-through rates. Let's say your UA designers create these incredible, highly stylized 3D cinematic screenshots for your store page.
Oh, we see this all the time.
All the time. But the actual app is just a basic 2D match 3 puzzle game. The human reviewer, or increasingly the AI checking for visual continuity, looks at the screenshots, plays the game, realizes you are actively misleading the user, and rejects the submission.
You also see a massive amount of rejections for missing permission descriptions.
Which is a huge privacy thing now.
It is a critical privacy mechanism. If your app code asks for the user's camera, microphone, or location data, you have to explicitly explain to the user why you need that data.
So you can't just silently track them.
Nope. If your code triggers a location request, but your store listing doesn't explain that the app needs it for, say, a mapping feature, that is an immediate rejection.
Okay, but again, I look at these first two states, unpublished and rejected, and they seem highly operational. Read the feedback, fix the privacy policy, change the screenshots, resubmit.
Very procedural.
Right. So I have to ask you, should a senior UA manager or a growth lead actually lose sleep over these?
On a purely technical level, no. The platforms aren't holding a vendetta against you for a broken URL.
Okay, good.
But, and this is but on a strategic level, they are a massive test of your team's operational maturity. If your updates are constantly getting rejected because of basic crashes or missing privacy policies, it signals a remarkably sloppy pipeline.
And a sloppy pipeline means delayed UA campaigns. You might have, I don't know, 50 grand in TikTok ads scheduled to launch alongside a major feature update.
Yep, the clock is ticking.
And if that update gets rejected because someone forgot to explain a camera permission, you're burning cash and scrambling to pause campaigns.
Exactly. It creates internal chaos. But more importantly, as we escalate into the more severe penalties, we're going to see that the platforms have very long, very unforgiving memories when it comes to sloppy pipelines.
Well, let's escalate then. We've covered the pre-launch hiccups and the administrative speed bumps. Now we move into the territory that actually causes heart palpitations.
The scary stuff.
Very scary. What happens when your app is already live, your ad campaigns are firing on all cylinders, users are flowing in, revenue's being generated, and suddenly the platform actively yanks you off the stage. This is the removed state.
This is where the true operational panic sets in, because unlike an unpublished update, a remove status means the music stops instantly for a live monetizing product. Every single dollar you were expecting to make that day is gone.
We call this the yellow card. Let's dive into the mechanisms here, because the platforms don't remove live apps lightly. First up on the list of causes, trademark, and copyright violations.
A classic.
Right. We see this constantly in the hyper-casual gaming and utility app spaces. Someone makes a blatant TikTok clone, a YouTube video downloader, or they try to sneakily incorporate a major brand's logo.
Like slightly tweaking the WhatsApp icon.
Exactly, just to siphon off organic search traffic.
And we really have to understand how they get caught. Because it isn't just Apple and Google manually searching for clones all day.
All right, there are too many apps for that.
Millions of them.
Yeah.
Major brands actually employ automated brand protection software that scours the app stores globally. And the second they detect a visual similarity to their trademark, they file an automated takedown notice with the platform.
And boom, you're gone.
Your app is removed almost instantly pending an investigation.
The second major cause for removal, and this is critical for monetization managers, revolves around ad guideline violations. The platforms are aggressively cracking down on how you serve ads to your users.
Intrusive ads are a primary target. Let's paint a picture of a typical violation here. You're running a hyper-casual game, and to maximize your ad revenue, you implement interstitial ads, those unavoidable full-screen pop-ups.
The ones everyone hates.
Yes. But you configure them so aggressively that they cover up essential app navigation buttons, or they appear every 15 seconds, making the game literally unplayable.
And the platform's algorithm detects that users are abandoning the app at massive rates, specifically immediately following ad impressions. They realize your app is hostile to the user experience, and they pull you down.
Yep.
The final major trigger here is sensitive content. Maybe your app flirts heavily with inappropriate or adult content, but it isn't quite severe enough to warrant an outright ban. The platform yanks the app to force your hand. Clean up the content or stay off the store.
Now, the remediation process for a removed app is technically straightforward. Like you said, it's a yellow card. You write to the platform, explain the oversight, aggressively fix the ad placements, remove the cloned logo, and resubmit for approval.
Okay, so if I'm playing devil's advocate here, if it's just a yellow card and I can just fix the ad placement and get my app back online, why is a removed status treated like such a terrifying event?
That's the trap.
Right. Can a growth team just push the boundary, say, whoops, sorry, Google, fix it when they get caught, and move on?
If you are a UA manager, this is what should keep you up at night. The hidden danger is that removed statuses accumulate. There is a hidden scorecard permanently attached to your developer account.
Wow. The permanent record.
It is a permanent record. If you get one yellow card because of an honest mistake with an ad SDK update, you fix it, you learn, the algorithm forgives you.
Okay.
But if you get too many yellow cards because your underlying business strategy relies on constantly testing intrusive ads or continuously trying to sneak cloned features past the reviewers.
The platform catches on.
Right. The platform algorithm fundamentally flags your entire account as a bad actor.
So you might think you fixed that ad placement issue last quarter and everything is fine, but Google Play's algorithm is still actively holding on to that strike.
Exactly. You cannot outsmart the accumulation. The accumulation of those operational yellow cards inevitably pushes you over an invisible threshold. And when you cross that threshold, you enter the final two states, the fatal blows.
This is the point of no return. This is when Apple and Google decide that your pattern of behavior or, the severity of a single violation means you are no longer welcome in their ecosystem at all. Let's look at the suspended state.
When an app is suspended, the app is dead, period.
Just gone.
The data, the user base, the store ranking, it's permanently wiped from the store. You cannot simply fix the issue and bring that specific app back to life.
And the causes for an outright suspension are a massive escalation from the yellow cards. We're talking about strictly forbidden content, things that violate the core safety and legal policies of the platform.
Like unregulated gambling.
Unregulated gambling, explicit sexual content, illicit drugs, hate speech.
But it goes beyond just illegal content. It includes extreme behavioral abuse, too. Like we just talked about intrusive ads leading to a removal.
Right, the yellow card.
But if you escalate that behavior to extreme ad fraud-like coding your app to force a user to click an invisible ad banner just to unlock the app's basic functionality, that isn't a yellow card.
That's just malicious.
Exactly. That is an immediate suspension because it is active, malicious hostility toward the user.
Another fascinating trigger for suspension is mass cloning. And I want to explain how they actually catch this, because it's not a human looking at screenshots.
No, absolutely not.
Right. If a developer uploads 50 slightly different versions of the exact same low-quality solitaire game just to spam the store and dominate search results, Google Play doesn't review them manually. Their bots scan the actual code base.
They're looking at the DNA of the app.
Exactly. They run algorithmic hashes on the code and the UI layouts. When the bot sees that 50 apps share 99% of the exact same underlying architecture, it triggers an automated mass suspension of every single clone.
And then there's fraudulent activity, specifically things like incentive installs.
Right, let's clarify incentive installs really quick.
Yeah.
This is when you are essentially paying users, maybe through some third-party rewards app, a few cents, to go download your app and leave a 5-star review.
Just purely to artificially game the App Store charts.
Right, trying to trick the algorithm into giving you organic visibility.
It is pure manipulation of the store's integrity. And if they catch you generating fake traffic or buying incentive installs, you are suspended. And the brutal reality of the suspended state is that appeals almost never work.
Why is that, though? Because people always think they can just talk to a human and plead their case.
Because by the time you hit the suspended stage, the platform isn't guessing anymore. They have gathered enough algorithmic data, code base hashes, or user reports to be absolutely confident in their decision. Your appeal is just shouting into a void.
And here's the terrifying ripple effect. Losing an app to a suspension is a tragedy for that specific product team. All that work is gone. But if multiple apps within one single developer account get suspended over time, it triggers the absolute final boss of platform penalties.
The terminated state.
The terminated state.
When your account hits terminated, the platform locks the entire developer console. They don't just delete the offending app, they delete every single app associated with that developer entity, your entire portfolio, your historical data, gone.
The account is dead. To use a real estate analogy, an app being suspended is like a landlord evicting a terrible tenant. The tenant is gone, but the apartment is still there, and the landlord still owns the building.
I like this.
Right. But terminated is the city council coming in, bulldozing your entire apartment building, salting the earth so nothing can ever grow there again, and legally banning you from ever owning property in their city.
It is total excommunication. And the causes for termination are really just the culmination of everything we've discussed. Continuous policy violations, a documented history of multiple suspended apps, outright financial fraud.
Or trying to bypass the store's in-app billing systems to avoid paying the platform their 30% cut.
Oh, they absolutely will not tolerate anyone messing with their payment infrastructure. But there's another specific trigger for termination that really stands out from the source material: running misleading content ads.
Oh, this is a big one.
It is. And it's noted that Google, in particular, is fiercely sensitive to this. If you run UA campaigns that promise a deeply narrative survival game, but the actual app is a predatory slot machine, Google will terminate the account.
Why is Google so uniquely draconian about misleading ads?
To understand that, you have to look at the macroeconomics of Google itself. Google is not just an app store provider. At its absolute core, it is an advertising company.
Right, the ads are the lifeblood.
Exactly. Their entire multi-billion-dollar ecosystem relies on user trust in their ad network.
So if a user clicks an ad served by Google, and that ad leads to a deceptive or scammy app,
The user doesn't just blame the scammy app developer. They blame Google. They subconsciously learn that clicking on Google ads leads to bad experiences. They stop trusting the network altogether.
that makes so much sense.
So, misleading ads threaten Google's core business model far more than a simple cloned app ever could. Google terminates those accounts aggressively to protect the fundamental integrity of their own revenue stream.
Which perfectly brings us to the ecosystem shift. We've mapped out the mechanics. We know exactly how the automation works and how apps die. But as senior growth professionals, we need to zoom out and look at the why. Why are Apple and Google tightening the screws so incredibly hard right now?
Because these strict policies, the automated code-based scanning, the permanent scorecards, none of this is arbitrary. It is a deliberate, highly calculated move to clean up the ecosystem.
Because it desperately needed to be cleaned up.
It really did.
It's quality control at a massive scale. Think about the app landscape 10 years ago. It was the Wild West. Users were way more forgiving of crashes. They tolerated spammy clones because, well, the novelty of apps was still there.
Everything was new.
Exactly. But today, the modern user has zero tolerance for junk. If an app frustrates them or bombards them with an intrusive interstitial ad, they don't just close it. They delete it in seconds and leave a 1-star review.
The platforms are basically acting as the bouncers for their own exclusive clubs. They're reading the room, they see that their best patrons, the high-value users, are getting annoyed by the spam, the clones, and the deceptive marketing. So they are ruthlessly tightening the dress code.
The reality of the market right now is that the era of fast money tactics is over. The teams that rely on arbitrage, spamming the store with 50 clones, or trying to trick users with misleading UA creatives, those teams are going to be systematically wiped out. The algorithms are literally designed to hunt them down.
And while that sounds incredibly daunting, it sounds like the rules are stricter and the margin for error is zero. We really need to reframe this.
How so?
Yes, it is infinitely harder for spammers. It's practically impossible for teams relying on tricks, but for legitimate growth teams, for developers who are actually investing in long-term product quality, this purge is creating a much fairer game.
Because the platforms are actively doing the dirty work of filtering out your trash competitors.
Exactly.
If you build a genuine high-quality app with real user value, you used to have to compete for ad space and store rankings with thousands of cheap, spammy clones. Now, Google and Apple are clearing the board for you. The strict policies are actually your biggest competitive advantage, provided you build a real business.
So operationally, how do teams actually adapt to this? The first mandate from the source material is that you have to accurately diagnose the drop.
Right. You need to know exactly where you sit on that taxonomy we just mapped out. If you wake up to that terrifying email, you shouldn't panic and freeze your entire company over an unpublished status caused by a broken privacy policy link.
No, you just fix the link.
But you also absolutely cannot afford to ignore a fatal suspended warning. You have to diagnose the severity before you react.
And that ties directly into the second operational mandate. You have to deeply respect the yellow cards. If you hit that remove status, you cannot treat it as a minor inconvenience. It is a major operational red flag.
You can't just slap a Band-Aid on the ad placement, resubmit, and go back to pushing the boundaries. You have to audit your internal processes. Why did that intrusive ad get approved by your team in the first place? You have to stop the bleeding before that hidden scorecard cascades into a permanent suspension.
Which ultimately means playing the long game. The paradigm has shifted entirely. You must align your user acquisition and your product development strategies with actual user value.
Stop trying to outsmart the bots.
Right. Stop trying to outsmart the store's code scanning bots. Stop trying to game the charts with incentive installs. The house always wins. The platforms are actively clearing the board for high-quality apps, so your only viable growth strategy is to be one of those high-quality apps.
It's a complete shift from trying to trick the algorithm to actively partnering with the ecosystem. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. But before you close out of the app and get back to managing your ad dashboards, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought, something to deeply consider as you plan your UA budgets for the next quarter. Let's hear it. We opened by talking about the panic of that morning takedown email. But think about where this is heading. If Apple and Google are now acting as the ultimate ruthless bouncers for app quality, purging anything that even hints at being spammy or cloned, will the future of user acquisition rely less on how many millions of dollars you can physically pump into an ad network and rely almost entirely on how much sheer trust and brand safety your product signals to the platform itself?
Man, that fundamentally changes how we value an app's growth potential.
It really does. So tomorrow morning when you wake up and check your phone, ask yourself, is my app actively building trust with the ecosystem, or is it just begging for a yellow card? Until next time, keep growing and keep playing the long game.